Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our annual UCEA Awards Luncheon celebration, and we are going to get started now, please.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Carrie Sampson. I'm an associate professor at Arizona State University, and I'm one of the co-MCs today.
And I'm Michael O'Malley, Dean of the College of Education at Texas State University, and really happy to be celebrating our awardees.
Thank you. So we have a lot going on in our world today. Clearly, there's a lot to be studying, a lot to be researched, a lot to be concerned about. But today, I'm happy to be here to stand in joy and in celebration of some amazing people in the room, in our community, who continue to do the good work that we need, and who will continue to do the good work that our children and our schools and our leaders need throughout the country and throughout the world. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all the work that every one of you do. And I'm happy to be here to celebrate.
I was also thinking on a little lighter side too, as we try to hold all that is in our world. I don't know if this happens to you. Sometimes I get lost in those Facebook reels, which is why I don't typically open Facebook anymore. So I went down a rabbit hole a week ago, and I have my new favorite one. And I wanted to share it with you. There's this older lady on the video walking right out of her supermarket. And by older, I mean about my age, actually. But anyway, she's walking out of the supermarket and she looks at the camera and she said, "That is the most demanding, obnoxious, rude cashier I have ever had in my life. I am never doing self-checkout ever again." We know that you are not obnoxious or rude, but I do suspect that a lot of you are very demanding on yourselves. And so we hope that this awards luncheon, as we lift up people who have had incredible accomplishments in our field, is also an opportunity for all of you to let go of whatever those demands are on yourself, to settle back, to be lifted up by our UCEA community, and know that all of your work, all of your contributions, all of your lives are needed and celebrated here today. Welcome to our celebration. We have a few directions for our presenters and awardees. As you see your award on the screen, please make your way up to the front. We invite the presenter to come over first, who will present the awardee, and then we invite the awardee to come forward to share with us your remarks and thoughts. And then when finished, we invite the presenter and the awardee to come over here about in front of the wall, so the edge of the table in front of the wall for a picture. We'll hand you the award, or the presenter will be handing the award, and we'd love to get a picture before you go down the steps. Our stage is a little narrower than usual, so just please be careful up here, and I'm trying my best not to go into the screen. And so we'll move ahead with our first award, which is the UCEA Excellence in Educational Leadership Awards. Through the Excellence in Educational Leadership Awards, UCEA annually recognizes practicing school administrators who have made significant contributions to the improvement of administrator preparation. Awardees are nominated by UCEA member institutions. The 2024 awardees and their nominating institutions are Tony Rivera Dugas, Jr., nominated by University of Wisconsin-Madison; Leanne Rice, nominated by the University of Georgia; and Wesley Tuttle, nominated by the University of Northern Colorado. Let's please congratulate them.
Our next award is to celebrate exemplary programs and encourage their development. UCEA established this award for exemplary educational leadership preparation. This award complements UCEA's core mission to advance the preparation and practice of educational leaders for the benefit of all children and schools. This award will be presented by UCEA Executive Director Monica Byrne Jimenez.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. How is everyone doing? I'm here on behalf of the committee that evaluates the the EELP award, and in particular Meredith Honig, who chairs the committee and couldn't be here today. So if you can imagine Meredith talking through me. And this will sound very much like Meredith when I say it. There are many ways to age. On one end, things come to an end. They run their course and shut down, or they stay doing what they have always done. On the other hand, things come of age. They come to wisdom. In the learning sciences, we call it mastery or expertise. In the language of this award, exemplary status. Over 2 decades, the Principal Leadership Institute at UC Berkeley has clearly come of age. The mission of the Principal Leadership Institute at UC Berkeley has evolved over time to focus on the preparation, induction, and support of a diverse community of equity-focused school leaders who will improve education for vulnerable and historically underserved students in California's public schools in support of social justice. Their portrait of a graduate provides a rich description of what those leaders look like and even make you feel like deeply rooted in research on leadership for deeper learning and culturally responsive teaching and learning and clearly grounded in their understanding of communities they serve. In their own words, now more than ever, we need leaders who have been prepared to enact transformative leadership, to be courageous in their approach, unapologetically anti-racist in their stance, and to have a strong sense of their own inner development needs in order to support their school community. Additionally, given the recent global health pandemics and racial reckonings that have directly impacted K-12 context, school leaders must be responsive, flexible, and have the ability to pivot when necessary in order to meet the needs of their staff and students. Meredith then goes on to sing the praises for about 3 or 4 more pages. I won't do that. I will have her share that with everybody if you want to see it, because I know the timer is on. But I do want to say that having known people who have taught in this program, having known students who have graduated from this program, they are an amazing community that, as they say in their mission, is unapologetically about students, unapologetically about the most vulnerable students in their schools, and unapologetically clear on their stance that schools can and need to do better. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Rebecca Chung and to have her accept this award on behalf of her program.
Good afternoon. I'm inspired by Monica to also say 大家好. My name is Rebecca Chung. I'm the Assistant Dean of Leadership Development Programs at UC Berkeley in the School of Education. And as we accept this award, it'll have 2 parts. I want to just share a little bit about our new director and our most recent director, our current director, Dr. Soraya Sablo-Sutton. Dr. Sutton is a scholar practitioner who traverses between higher education and public education. In fact, she is one of the few PLI students who was ever admitted after obtaining her PhD in language, literacy, and culture many years prior. I find it especially poignant that Soraya is PLI's first homegrown director. A member of cohort 13, my first full cohort as director of the Principal Leadership Institute many years ago, Soraya spent time in the field as a vice principal and principal before returning back to UC Berkeley in 2017 as assistant director of the PLI. And then she became director in 2020. We look forward to future opportunities to contribute to the important field of leadership preparation. And please join me in congratulating Dr. Soraya Sablo-Sutton and the Principal Leadership Institute for this award.
Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you to the UCEA committee for this honor. I accept this award on behalf of the leaders who have come before me, the designers of this exceptional leader preparation program. Dr. Linda Treadway, the founder and director of UC Berkeley's PLI. Since its inception in 1999, and Dr. Rebecca Chung, who took the reins in 2011, you have crafted the framework for high-quality leader preparation that we've continued to refine and benefit from over the past 24 years. To our sister program, UCLA PLI, who serve as continual collaborators under the leadership of Dr. Tanika Orange and Dr. Nancy Parachini, thank you for your ongoing support. Part of what makes PLI such a dynamic and effective program is the incredible contributions of staff and faculty who teach in the program. You really are the heart and soul of the PLI. Thank you to our faculty director, Dr. Jabari Mahiri, our dean, Michelle Young, whose contributions to the field of educational leadership have inspired us long before she arrived to be our dean. Thank you to Dr. Eos Trinidad, Dr. Travis Bristol, and Talani Britton, who are just some of the Senate faculty who contribute to our program, as well as Dr. Jessica Evans and Leahy Rosenthal, who are my partners in crime and help to continually improve our work. Thank you to Dr. Nevis Wetzel de Sediel, our instructor of the practicum, and a host of lecturers like Wu William Zoe, who continues to remind us about the importance of embodied leadership. One of the traditions in PLI is to recite affirmations, which help to rejuvenate our leaders' hope. I want to share one of those affirmations with you today. It says, "We stand on the shoulders of 690 PLI graduates." I'm going to say that again. 690 PLI graduates. These are primarily leaders of color who have sustained themselves in the work and who show up every day on the front lines to make schools a better place for our most underserved students. I accept this award on behalf of our 690 alums, and I hope to continue the legacy of PLI for many generations to come. Thank you so much.
The EAQ William J. Davis Best Article Award recognizes the authors of the most outstanding article published in the last volume year of the Educational Administration Quarterly. This award will be presented by EAQ editor Gerardo Lopez.
All right. The William J. Davis Award is, as Michael said, given annually to the authors of the most outstanding article published in EAQ during the preceding volume year. This award is typically presented at AERA during the Division A business meeting. However, due to some technology challenges, i.e. a hack incident that happened with Sage, we are now presenting it here instead because we got delayed. The Davis Award was established in 1979 with contributions in honor of the late William J. Davis, who was a former associate director of UCEA and assistant professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. This year's selection committee for the Davis Award was comprised of Kyle Lingle from University of Louisville, Nemo Abdi from Ohio State University, who was last year's winner, Talgat Bainazarov from Michigan State University, Emma Taylor from Michigan State University, Bakit Zumatai from Michigan State University, and myself. After sorting through all of the articles published last year, the committee unanimously selected Tempering Applied Critical Leadership, The Impossibilities of Leading for Racial Justice in School Districts by Vidya Shah, Nada Aude, Giselle Couglevan-Mindreau, and Joseph Flessa. This article examines how minoritized educational leaders navigate the difficult terrain of working with and advocating for racially and linguistically oppressed students in schools, often in an educational environment and climate that does not tolerate explicit anti-racist leadership practices. By detailing how minoritized school leaders use their own positions and authority to disrupt oppression in schools, Shaw and her colleagues provide us with a useful framework and as well as a roadmap for how to form alliances and bridges to expand liberationist possibilities both inside and outside of school settings. I really do think that this article is timely, given the recent election results here in the United States, which has echoed the rise of conservative governments and leaders around the world who have risen to power on racist, anti-immigrant, nationalist, heteronormative, and Islamophobic platforms. We need articles like this, now more than ever. This article is a powerful read, and I encourage every one of you to check out this article in last year's volume of EAQ. So with great delight, as the editor-in-chief of EAQ, I present this year's William J. Davis Award to Joseph Flessa from the University of Toronto, who is receiving this award on behalf of his co-authors. Joseph?
Hi, everyone. I don't have prepared remarks, but I do have instructions from Vidya to thank you for and to appreciate the acknowledgement of work that was done and originated and thought about outside of the borders of the United States. I think that is not a taken for granted thing for scholars in an international context to be recognized at an important American institution. So that's one first thing that I want to say. It's an enormous honor to accept this on the behalf of Vidya, Nada, and Giselle, whose work and intellectual guidance of this project were foundational. I'm the person who happens to be at the meeting, so I'm the person who's accepting it on their behalf. And I also just want to say Vidya is a fantastic scholar who has something called the Unleading podcast. If you haven't found it, they're fantastic podcasts with interviews about how the frameworks that we use implicitly and explicitly to think about school leadership may continue to exclude, even if that's the work that we don't want to be doing. She's just great. And I am very proud to be associated with this paper because she was also one of my first doctoral supervisions. So she's a great and terrific scholar and a wonderful person. And Nada and Giselle's contributions were terrific as junior scholars as well. That's all I want to say about this, except it's an enormous honor, and thank you very much.
How's everyone doing? I want to take one moment and thank our staff who are working diligently and still smiling to feed us this lovely meal. So please, let's take a moment to thank your staff. The next award is also a journal award. It's the JRLE Best Article Award, and it's given annually to authors of the most outstanding article published in the Journal of Research on Leadership Education during the preceding volume year. This award will be presented by the lovely co-editor April Peter Hawkins. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I gotta take these off. It is my great honor to present the recipient of this year's Journal of Research on Leadership Education Article of the Year Award. Before I share more about the winning article, I'd like to thank the associate editors and last year's recipients for their efforts in selecting a winner this year. Each year, the co-editors-in-chief, the associate editors, and the previous year's recipients collectively review the published manuscripts for the previous calendar year. The articles are reviewed according to a rubric, and the pool is narrowed to 3 finalists. We collectively review the 3 finalists, and from that group select the winner of the Article of the Year. This year's Article of the Year is Lessons Learned from Designing a Principal Preparation Program, Equity, Coherence, and Collaboration by Stacy Leggett, Margarita DeSander, and Tom Stewart. This outstanding article offers a comprehensive exploration of how a regional university redesigned its principal preparation program to center equity, coherence, and collaborative practices. The authors detail a multi-phase process grounded in the principles of improvement science to align curriculum with national standards, address equity challenges, and create impactful field-based experiences. Their work highlights 3 critical themes. 1, the importance of equity-centered leadership to improve student outcomes across diverse contexts. 2, the need for coherent, vertically and horizontally aligned curricula in leadership preparation. Amen to that. 3, the value of collaborative partnerships between universities, districts, and state agencies to drive meaningful change. This article is particularly relevant in today's climate as it provides a model for preparing school leaders who can navigate systemic inequities and foster inclusive, culturally responsive school environments. It stands as a testament to the power of intentionality and partnership in transforming educational leadership preparation. Congratulations to the authors for this well-deserved recognition. Your work inspires and challenges us to continue pushing boundaries in educational leadership research and practice. On behalf of JRLE, we extend a hearty congratulations, and we look forward to seeing more of your published work in the future. Congratulations again.
So mainly, I just want to express my thanks to UCEA and JRLE for recognizing the story of our work in redesigning our program, and that journey still continues today. I have to recognize my colleagues, Margarita DeSander and Tom Stewart, who helped in writing the article and could not be here. But I have to recognize all of my colleagues through this work, including Gary Houchins, who also is not with us today, but he helped us in the redesign process. Isolation is the enemy of improvement, and our work resulted from extensive collaborations and partnerships, as you heard. So thanks to the Wallace Foundation and Jody Spiro and the many institutions, some who are here today, who opened their doors for us to let us see behind the closed door and what they were doing and learn from their process. But a special thank you to Shelby Cosner and to Steve Tozer, who were our guides on this journey and visited us several times a year and walked us through our redesign process, invited us to Chicago and let us see behind the door of what they were doing. So again, thank you all.
You did well. You did great. You did great. Our next award the Paula Silver Case Award memorializes the life and work of Paula Silver, a UCEA Associate Director and President-elect who made significant contributions to our field through excellence in scholarship, advocacy of women, and an inspired understanding of praxis. The Paula Silver Case Award recognizes the authors of the most outstanding case published in the last volume year of the Journal of Cases in Educational Leadership. This award will be presented by co-editor Curtis Brewer. Who has turned into Jo Beth Jimerson, so welcome.
Thanks so much. Yes, I am not Curtis Brewer, but side note, he was the graduate assistant in my very first doctoral course at UT Austin. And so I do know him very well, and he gives wonderful feedback. It is my pleasure to introduce the winners of this year's Paula Silver Case Award. The editors of the Journal of Cases of Educational Leadership are pleased to announce that the case are educational leaders of color truly able to lead for equity, maintaining the status quo or disrupting unequitable systems by Shannon Waite and Courtney Wilkerson. This was selected to receive this year's Paula Silver Case Award. The editors would like to thank the selection committee for their service. The committee consisted of Dr. Melinda Lemke, Dr. Lizette Navarrete-Burks, Dr. Jason Salisbury, and was chaired by Dr. James Coviello. The selection committee noted that this case study is important because it explores the complex challenges facing a district leader who commits to anti-racist and culturally responsive leadership practices. The case details the external and internal struggles of the superintendent as she attempts to enact her core educational beliefs about equity and access while fighting the political realities of the city in which the case is situated. The authors adeptly provide a window into what is required to engage in a sustained effort to enact anti-racist educational leadership. And the committee really believes this can and should be a central component of the preparation of school leaders. So without further ado, congratulations to our authors.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm a call and response type of person, so y'all got to talk back to me a little better than that. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank UCEA and JCEL, the JCEL editorial board, for this recognition. It is truly an honor for us to be recognized for this work, in particular, this teaching case. We have to thank the Leadership for Social Justice SIG because it was through their special call for anti-racist cases that we wrote and published this case study. Shout out to Drs. Ian Mehta, Curtis Brewer, Terry Watson, and to Mark Anthony Gooden for the invitation to appear on the JCEL podcast, because if it had not been for that podcast and them pushing it, I'm sure that this moment may or may not have come. And finally, I have to thank my co-author, Dr. Courtney Wilkerson. And I really have to give Dr. Wilkerson her flowers because we, in order to submit for this particular special call, we had to have a practitioner, right? And Dr. Wilkerson came through, and she came through exceptionally. And for reasons that I will now share with you publicly that she's never heard. As a scholar activist practitioner who focuses on developing critical consciousness in educational leaders, oftentimes when I'm asked to write or contribute, folks say, oh, I love it, and what practical tools can you give folks to make change right now? And in the face of, your R&R process, it was Dr. Wilkerson, who is a current sitting school leader in a large urban public school district, who validated and legitimized my work and said, no, sis, This work is good. What we need is not more things to do. We need to give them tools so that they can work on reflecting and developing their own critical consciousness. So thank you, sis. Lastly, I'll wrap up by saying that this case highlights the introspection needed because just as leadership requires reflection, the commitment to developing one's critical consciousness is intra before it is ever inter. And you cannot lead people from a space and place that you don't know. So in a field such as ours, educational leadership, which tends to call for leaders to act swiftly, having had this case selected, which calls for leaders to sit with their own racism and internalized racism, to consider the ways in which they perpetuate those systems of oppression, is very meaningful. Many, many thanks.
So next up is the faculty awards. Oh, nope. There we go. The Jack A. Culbertson Award was established in honor of UCEA's first full-time executive director who served 22 years in the position. Dr. Culbertson took particular interest in the scholarly endeavors of early career faculty, recognizing their work in the future of the profession. The award is presented annually to an outstanding early career educational leadership professor in recognition of their significant contributions to the field of educational leadership. Individuals nominated must have been professors for 6 years or fewer and currently serve in a UCEA university. The Culbertson Award will be presented by two awardees, will be presented to two awardees, first by Aaron Anderson and then by Michael O'Malley. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm presenting this award to Dr. Brian Van Groningen on behalf of our other committee members, nomination committee members or nominators, Katie Cunningham, Kobe Myers, and Meredith Ranowski, who helped me put together the nomination packet. I just wanted to mention that. As previous Culbertson Award recipient Frank Perrone wrote, quite simply, one could easily and accurately replace UCEA with Brian when reading aloud each and every one of UCEA's stated goals, values, and mission. He went on to share that Brian works diligently and successfully to enhance PK through 12 education, and in turn works to make the world a better place. And he does this with unwavering integrity, generosity, and care, embodying all that UCEA is supposed to stand for and work towards. Brian is the recipient of this award because of the way he creates community for impactful scholarship to improve schools. He has an ability to infuse long-standing scholarly conversations with fresh perspectives. Working on long-term collaborations, he is authentically kind, relationship-driven, and has an unwavering resolve to engage in impactful research that can better schools and opportunities for students, which drives his scholarship. However, his research is only part of the story. Brian has strengthened the field also through his teaching and mentorship and his commitment to influencing preparation and policy through his service. As one of his students at the University of Delaware shared, his efforts have not only advanced his students' careers, but strengthened the educational leadership program as a whole, an idea echoed by his UD colleagues. Michael Saylor, the Director of Education Excellence in the Delaware Department of Education, shared that in addition to 3 major research-based initiatives to support leaders in induction and development in the state of Delaware, he also developed a curriculum for the Delaware Governor's Institute for School Leadership Assistant Principal Academy. That 12-month standards-line program garnered national attention, including from the Wallace Foundation, which invited Brian to share his curriculum and develop strategies with schools and leadership programs nationwide through a series of professional learning sessions for 40 urban districts around the United States, many of which have reported incorporating these strategies into their own supports for educational leaders. To summarize, one of Brian's research collaborators, Laura Rogers, mentioned, "I have learned so much from him as a colleague and a scholar. He is a generous co-author and a thought partner. Equally important, he is a kind and genuine person, and one I'm glad to know." At a time when kindness and generosity are important values more than ever, this nomination committee and the field as a whole are also glad to know the kind and generous Dr. Brian Van Groningen and to present him with the 2024 Jack Culberson Award.
Thank you all very much. That was immensely kind. I want to start first. It's an incredible privilege to be here, to be with and supported by so many friends, and I'm honored to receive this award. And I want to start by thanking the nomination orchestrators, so Aaron and Kobe and Meredith and Katie, thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the award review committee, Kevin Lawrence Henry Jr., Andrew Pendola, and Rachel White. I appreciate your service. And I also want to congratulate my co-recipient, Sam Viano. So Sam, it's a year for school improvement. So when I was a doctoral student at the University of Virginia, I was a graduate assistant for UCEA headquarters for 4 years. And at the time, Michelle Young was UCEA's executive director and was my research supervisor as a graduate assistant. And I was really new to doctoral level work and to doctoral level research. And whenever I'd get to talking about my research interests or studies, Michelle would usually pose the same question over 4 years. And she would say, "Brian, what are the implications of that research for policy preparation and practice?" And it was this constant refrain from Michelle. Policy, preparation, and practice. And so that question from Michelle wasn't a challenge, it was more so a push, about how I thought about my work and what I do as a doctoral student and what I've done as a faculty member. And so as I considered the phrase early career as part of this award and these remarks, I wanted to just share 3 things that I've done over the last couple years that really have caused me to love this job and to thrive in this job. And Aaron mentioned the first one. When I started at the University of Delaware in 2019, I was fortunate to form a research practice partnership with the Delaware Department of Education. And so from the get-go, I was partnering with leaders and with state officials to try to conduct research that was relevant immediately to their context and to their practice. And so that's something that I really hold true, is to try to be as close to practice with my work as possible. Second, I teach in our EDD in Educational Leadership program, and nearly all of our students are current practitioners, either in K-12 contexts or in higher ed context. And one of my favorite joys about teaching in an EDD program is that a lot of the concepts and a lot of the things that I think we take for granted because we know, in terms of theories, research, etc., for many of those students, it's the first time that they're introduced to those things. And so their minds can be blown by introducing things like Bronfenbrenner or root cause analysis or whatever it is. And that's one of the things that I love most, is seeing them take the work in our preparation and applying it in their own contexts. And a third piece that I love about this job is the community that I have here in the room with many of you, especially those that I collaborate with and those that I meet with weekly. It really keeps me going, and the community that I've been able to build here pushes me to do better and be better to try to serve the students and educators and communities that we want to shape around the world. So Michelle's prompt about preparation, policy, and practice, and then doing work with practitioners, and then doing that work in community have been a nice motivation for what I've done so far, and I appreciate this recognition. I want to close by thanking 3 people. So first, I want to recognize my parents, Chuck and Debbie. So I'm a first-generation college student. I'm the only person in my family to have a college degree. and I thank them for their sacrifices. And finally, I want to thank my wife, Lauren Bales. And so Lauren's in the back there, and I never thought that as I walked the halls of UCEA from Convention Ballroom C to Salon J that I would find my life partner, but I'm very grateful to have found that. So thank you all very much.
Our other awardee for the Culbertson Award is being presented by Don Purock, who's not able to be here, so I'll read the words that he prepared and sent in to us for this presentation. So from Don Purock, I am honored to recognize Dr. Samantha Viano, Associate Professor of Education in the George Mason College of Education and Human Development, with the 2024 UCEA Jack A. Culbertson Award. Sam Viano was nominated by a team of senior scholars under the guidance of Diana Pounder. Collectively, the nominating team recognized Sam as among the most prolific and respected early career researchers in our field. Sam has published more than 25 referee journal articles in some of the most prestigious and rigorous education journals, and she has collaborated with colleagues to secure millions of dollars in grants. Her success as a researcher has been matched by investments in leadership preparation programs in her institution and at the national level. And she has established a record of field-level service that far exceeds conventional expectations for early career faculty members. Above all else, the nominating team recognized Sam as a wonderful, generous colleague. Please join me in congratulating Sam Viano as the recipient of the 2024 Culbertson Award.
Thank you all. I admit I'm not as organized as Brian, although I really appreciate the shout out to me, and I echo my gratitude to the awards committee, to UCEA, and all of my mentors that made it possible for me to be here today. And I especially want to thank Diana Pounder, who was not able to be here but would have loved to have been here. To say a bit more about that, I'm an interdisciplinary education leadership and policy scholar, which has made finding a home, an academic home, challenging because I care so much about preparing school leaders. That's what I do as an educator at George Mason, and I also am very interested in policy impacts and implementation. So in my exploration of where to go, I came across the UCEA Retired Professors Mentorship Program in the middle of the pandemic, which was truly transformative. I had been to other mentoring programs, but the mentorship of Diana Pounder was so prolific in my development. I had rarely had someone who was so committed to the development of not just ed leadership faculty, but women faculty in this field. And she was so honest and generous with her time. She's retired, obviously, that's in the name of the program, so taking time out of her gardening and lovely retirement life to speak to me was so amazing. I also am so appreciative to Don Purock and the other faculty who are part of my nomination. I am only able to accomplish everything I do through partnerships. I think that's so important in any field, but education leadership in particular. I'm so grateful again that UCEA has been a welcome home for the kind of work I do, which is guided by equity and a desire to reduce opportunity gaps and help education leaders align their equity-driven goals with policy implementation and their leadership practices. So I hope this is the continuation of many productive relationships at UCEA with educational leaders and policymakers. And thank you again to the committee and to UCEA for this award.
Thank you all just for the great spirit of joy and uplifting people in the room as we celebrate some pretty incredible scholars and educators, yes? Our next award is the Master Professor Award, which recognizes an educational leadership faculty member whose record demonstrates excellence in at least 4 of the following 5 areas: teaching, mentoring and advising, academic leadership, supporting diverse students and colleagues, and professional service. This award will be presented by Leahy Rosenthal, who has miraculously turned into Michelle D. Young from Berkeley. I can't wait to find out all the other surprises.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Award-winning teacher and mentor, equity and democracy advocate, acclaimed researcher, children's book author, academic leader, steward for the public good, and all-around Renaissance man. These are the makings of the 2024 Master Professor awardee, Professor Jabari Mahiri from UC Berkeley. Jabari serves as the director for Berkeley's leadership programs and as the board chair and co-PI for our 21st Century Leadership Academy, which has served over 8,000 educators since it was launched in the year 2020. He brings a commitment to equity, justice, and inclusion to everything he does, and he gets results. Jabari's efforts have supported the diversification of our faculty and student body at Berkeley. He has acted as a moral compass, in the words of Soraya Salvo Sutton, holding our colleagues accountable for walking the talk of equity. Jabari cares deeply about his students and colleagues and believes deeply in supporting the university as well. And more importantly, he's an amazing human being who uplifts the people and the organizations that he serves. There is no one more deserving for such an honor, and it's such a wonderful opportunity to work with the team that nominated him, who is here to my right, to support Jabari. Congratulations.
Joy is the theme of this conference, and I may be one of the folks who's experienced the most joy at our conference this year. I'm truly honored to receive this award, especially from UCEA, and particularly when I see the list of esteemed past awardees for this award. I want to thank the host of colleagues and students, some of whom have become colleagues of mine as well as friends, in our leadership programs at Berkeley School of Education who wrote nomination letters, including Dean Young and our Assistant Dean, Rebecca Chung. A special thanks to Dr. Leahy Rosenthal, who initiated and coordinated everything. And I'm really excited that not only am I receiving an award, but our Principal Leadership Program, the Principal Leadership Institute, is also receiving an award and acknowledgement of the work that it's doing today. I want to also thank my daughter, Nia, who's here. She's a nurse here at UCLA Medical Center, and we went out to an amazing dinner at a place called Sugarfish Sushi last night. So I appreciate her being able to share this with me. The last book I wrote was called Deconstructing Race, and the subtitle was something about multicultural education beyond the colorblind. And a good friend of mine and colleague, Gisa Kirsch, said, you know, you should have made the subtitle, Can Multicultural Education Disrupt White Supremacy? And of course, that would have been a better title, but it would have really taken a lot more research and a completely different direction from the book. But in the book, I mentioned and quoted Ta-Nehisi Coates, who said, racism is the father of race. And I suggested, in contrast to that statement, that race and racism are the children of white supremacy, the illegitimate offspring of mating power and possessiveness to enable capital and accumulation and social control. I also want to thank my partner, who is a co-founder with me of a book club and I mention this because the last book we read was James by Percival Everett. It's the story of Huck Finn from the perspective of Jim. It also explains the social and political situation we find ourselves in today, from its beginning to the present, and in other words, how white supremacy is the DNA of this country. If we expected something to be different, we should have also been aware that the kinds of narratives of people who were our forefathers were essentially telling us that the DNA of this country is circulating around white supremacy. So as leaders, we have to tell the stories of those who are most marginalized in our society and make those stories the framing narratives of what we focus on as equity-conscious leaders, which in fact is the beginning of the title of my current book, Equity-Conscious Leaders Educating for a Just World. Every one of these words is under attack. Equity consciousness is derided as woke. Leaders are forced to be sycophants. Education is seen as indoctrination. But we can't shrink back from the fundamental ideas and ideals that these words suggest. To be really just, we have to see power inherent in our leadership positions. And strategically, we have to use that power to right the wrongs of race. Thank you.
That was beautiful. The next award is the J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award, which honors Jay Scribner, whose prolific career spanned over 4 decades and who mentored a host of doctoral students into the profession while advising and supporting countless early career professors throughout the same time. It was Dr. Scribner's unique ability to reach across racial, class, and gender differences in his mentorship, nurturing scholars from underrepresented backgrounds that is remembered here today. The J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award recognizes educational leadership faculty who have made a substantive contribution to the field of mentoring by mentoring the next generation of students into the roles as university research professors, while also recognizing the important roles mentors play in supporting and advising career faculty. This award will be presented by Joan Kill On.
Good afternoon. My name is Jun Gilan. I'm an assistant professor of educational leadership and policy program at the University of Arizona. It is my honor and privilege to recognize Dr. Don Heckman, the recipient of the 2024 UCEA J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award. I said privilege because although myself and Joe Mullane took the lead to put together Dr. Heckman's nomination packet, we could confirm that there were numerous mentees of Dr. Heckman whose careers he has guided such that they can also equally speak to his lifelong mentorship. This award is a testament not only to his dedication to mentoring and wisdom he has shared with his mentees, but also to the enduring impact of his guidance on the lives of numerous professors and practitioners in the field of educational leadership and policy. 2 strong themes emerged while we were completing the nomination materials collected from his mentees. First, it was clear that Dr. Heckman has a true heart for mentoring. He continuously went the extra mile instead of taking his mentorship as one small part of the quote-unquote 20% service responsibility. Many people share that he has always been willing to lend an ear at many UCEAs to talk about their careers and guide them to new possibilities in numerous meetings during conferences or even via text, email, and phone calls outside the conferences. Second, Dr. Heckman saw the potential but not deficit of his mentees and convinced his mentees that they could be successful even at those moments when his mentees were struggling with lack of confidence in themselves. For example, one person who wrote one of the two support letters wrote, I felt alone and isolated at the moment. Like many young scholars, I doubted my abilities and felt disconnected. Dr. Heckman made the time to meet with me regularly at the conferences, provide guidance, and also serve as a friend. I also would like to thank you, Dr. Heckman, for your mentorship on a personal level. I still vividly remember my first semester as a PhD student at the University of Illinois when I was an international student of color who gave up his tenure teaching job in home country and was also shy to participate in class discussions, didn't have any clue where to present his research, what to write, and where to publish, and who to meet in conferences. You introduced me to who we are as the field of educational leadership, what UCEA and ARA could mean, where to publish, and how I should prepare for the job market in the very first meeting when we met each other. More importantly, you not only showed me those opportunities, but you also included me in those opportunities. You invited me to write with you to publish even when I did not know anything about research, and introduced me to numerous colleagues in UCEA and ARA. Most significantly, last night when we were chatting in the lobby while waiting for Joe Malin to join us for dinner, you asked me, can you call me Don? It made my day. Don, thank you for your passion, commitment, and unwavering belief in the potential and strength, not deficit, of your mentees. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition. Let us give all Dr. Heckman a round of warm applause.
Thank you to June Kell-Ahn and to Joe Malin for nominating me. To my former students and colleagues who included their names in support of my nomination, and to the award committee for selecting me for this honor. I'm humbled to be this year's recipient of the J.D. Scribner Mentoring Award because it acknowledges an important aspect of a professor's role that often goes unrecognized and unrewarded. It has been a joy to mentor my students and faculty colleagues, develop friendships and research partnerships, and celebrate with them as they have experienced successes and advanced in their careers. I would also like to thank my wife, Tammy, who unfortunately was unable to be here today, and our children, Tyler and Jordan, for their patience, understanding, and support during the many times that I was pulled away from family activities to mentor others. Again, I am deeply honored to receive the Scribner Mentoring Award. Thank you.
Our next award is named in honor of Linda C. Tillman, whose career spans over 4 decades in K-12 and higher education. Dr. Tillman has worked diligently and courageously to diversify the educational leadership professoriate by drawing public attention to systemic racism, making institutional systems more racially equitable, creating supportive structures for students and faculty of color, and mentoring students and faculty of color. The Linda C. Tillman Social and Racial Justice Award will be presented to two awardees, first by Betty Merchant and then by Mark Anthony Gooden.
Good afternoon. Dr. Arar is a professor of educational leadership in the Department of Counseling, Leadership, Adult Education, and School Psychology at Texas State University, where he has worked since the fall of 2020. A true scholar without borders. As a Palestinian, Dr. Arar lived and worked in Israel for many years before coming to Texas. As such, he is intimately aware of the historical, social, religious, economic, and political complexities of the region. Despite the hatred and the bitterness he has witnessed and the losses he has experienced, he continues to reach across the traditional borders of race, nationality, and religion to engage in research with students and colleagues in an effort to bridge the gap between what we've come to know and believe about each other. Dr. Arar's extensive body of work addresses social justice issues in education and confronts racism and systems of oppression in both pre-K through 12 and leadership preparation programs in higher education for the purpose of achieving greater equity, diversity, and inclusion for all learners, particularly those in extremely vulnerable situations. Much of his work focuses on responding to the challenges faced by refugees and other displaced persons. I have to switch my screen now. All right. I have known Dr. Arar for over 10 years. I first met him at a conference session in which he was a presenter. I didn't have this in my notes, and it may sound a little soft to say, but I get a lot about a person from their eyes. And it was one of the first times I've ever attended a session where I looked at the eyes of the presenter, and I saw what I believed was everything he was talking about. It was in his eyes, which to me meant it was in his heart. I was immediately struck by the coherency between his professional commitment to diversity, equity, social and racial justice, and his genuine personal passion with respect to these values. As a professor of educational policy and leadership for almost 35 years, I have seen too many presenters who write and talk the talk, but who fail to walk the talk. I sincerely believe that Dr. Arar epitomizes the very spirit of the Linda C. Tillman Award. He is a truly caring human being, a deeply dedicated academic and researcher. I have come to understand and appreciate the fact that Dr. Arar's entire life is centered on these things, and to this end, he enlists all of his energy, skills, and knowledge to make the field of educational leadership more humane and just.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm deeply honored to stand here as a co-recipient of the Linda Tillman Racial and Social Justice Award, to be recognized with this prestigious honor by the UCEA community is profoundly humbling, especially as a Palestinian American scholar receiving this award at a time when my people are enduring immense suffering, genocide, scholasticide, higher educide, and the erasure of dignity, carries a weight that words cannot fully capture. It affirms that our voices, our struggles, and our stories matter. As part of a displaced family that endured or survived, ultimately thrived, my journey and research reflect both the pain and displacement and the resilience born from hope and perseverance. My work centers on marginalized groups, displaced populations, and newcomers, amplifying their voices and advocating for educational equity and justice. As Dr. Martin Luther King reminded us, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This belief drives my commitment to dismantling inequities and promoting dignity through education. Dr. Linda Tillman's legacy serves as a guiding light. Her scholarship on racial equity and social justice challenges us to confront systemic racism with courage. Ensuring dignity and inclusion remain central to educational systems. Her enduring call to embody justice reminds us that social justice is not merely a theory or a rhetoric, but an actionable and personal responsibility. I owe deep gratitude to those who have welcomed me in the US since my arrival. My brother, Dr. Guajardo, Dean O'Malley, and my colleagues at Texas State University. My special thanks goes to Professor P.T. Merchant, who believed in me, led to this nomination, and to Professor Ira Bagach and Jason Richardson and other colleagues for their constant and unwavering support. I would like to ask also to thank my father and mother and my wife, Iman, to have been encouraged by so many stronger people than me to advocate for communities enduring oppression. As the son of an uprooted family and parents who barely completed primary schools, I never imagined becoming a scholar. Yet here I am, advocating for equity and justice and dignity to those who are too often silenced. My work inspired the resilience of my people and so many others, underscores the importance of preserving stories and fostering solidarity. This awards, tell me, affirms that identity and advocacy have a vital place in the broader fight for social justice. It reminds us that progressive educators, we have a unique responsibility to dismantle structures of oppression and create systems of hope and opportunity. Our age to reflect what is our role as progressive educators in these urgent times. How can we use our privileged platforms' expertise to challenge systemic and inequities and injustices? Are we creating educational spaces where the most marginalized can thrive, or are we reinforcing barriers? How do we move beyond rhetoric and translate our values into meaningful actions that address the pressing issues of genocide, displacement, and systemic oppression? These questions demand what Paulo Freire put it as: education is freedom. To my fellow scholars, advocates, our collective stories of survival, resistance, and hope hold transformative power. Together we can build a world where justice is not an aspiration, but a lived reality. This awards fuels my commitment to continue that work, and I invite you to join me in reimagining and creating a future where justice and equity prevail. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. It is indeed, oh, I went too far. All right, sorry. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to recognize Dr. Angela Welton for the Linda C. Tillman Social and Racial Justice Award. Woo, yeah, go ahead. It is also a full circle moment for me. As many of you know, Linda C. Tillman is my mentor, and I was telling a joke earlier how even though I'm a professor for a couple of decades, I'm still a little bit afraid of Linda C. Tillman. But it's also wonderful to see she is here today, looking beautiful, and it is an honor to have her here to help present the award. A word about Dr. Welton. Dr. Welton has served as the courageous and consummate role model in confronting racism in PK through 12 systems and leadership preparation programs. Since I have known her, she has constantly sought to bravely address difficult issues by modeling for her students and colleagues how best to move forward and make meaningful progress in the area of anti-racist leadership. One of the early ways she applied her signature approach was through serving as program coordinator of a preparation program when she was at Urbana-Champaign. And for those of you who've been program coordinators, you know this is hard work. But while doing this work, she maintained her scholarship. And she was instrumental in supporting the development of equity-centered principles. And I like to say that there are mentors who call and check on their mentees, and they indeed should do that. But it's surprising and wonderful to know that there are mentees who also call to check on their mentors. This is the kind of person that Dr. Angela Welton is. That's the kind of mentee she is. And I should say to you that Dr. Welton, fun fact, actually served as a babysitter for my daughter, Nia Ayana, who is now 17 and apparently suffering from senioritis. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite her to join me on the stage and just say, congratulations to Dr. Angela Welton on winning the Linda C. Tillman Social and Racial Justice Award. Woo!
Thank you so much. I first wanted to say thank you to, I think Dean Drolando Jackson is in the room. Oh, there you are, taking a photo. He's now at Michigan State University and left me at UW-Madison. But I wanted to tell you thank you for hiring me and giving me a chance to be a part of the most amazing department of just wonderful people who amplify each other. I say we in our department, we are not a culture of me, but we are a culture of we. I also wanted to say thank you to Mark Gooden and Suzanne Eckes and my colleagues in my department for nominating me for the Linda C. Tillman Social and Racial Justice Award. Both Mark and Suzanne are probably two of the most selfless people I know. If you need a hype person, call Suzanne Eckes. As her colleague, I get to see how behind the scenes she has mentored and nominated countless scholars, especially early career scholars, for awards, and has in the last 2.5 years, while I've been department chair of our department, has led the charge of, I think, over 30 nominations for colleagues, not just in my department, but she does this for colleagues throughout the fields of ed leadership, policy, and law. So thank you, Suzanne. And Mark. Mark Gooden continues to model what it looks like to mentor and advocate for Black scholars in the field. Writing those external review letters, and always answers the phone when I need advice, especially when I'm driving from Madison to Chicago, and I call you. on how to best support and show up for Black faculty, either at my university or in the field, who are clearly being wronged by the Academy. And Mark, you'll be getting another call soon from me. I also wanted to thank the namesake of this award, Dr. Linda C. Tillman. If it weren't for Linda Tillman and Michelle Young, and the love and support of UCEA and the people in this organization, I would not be standing here doing this job. Because when I started graduate school as a first-generation college graduate, I didn't know that you could do this job, this faculty thing, this faculty life. I didn't know what tenure was. What is tenure? I had never heard of it. Linda Tillman, when she was AERA Division A VP, she would make sure that graduate students were taken care of and that their name was on the program somewhere, somehow, even if they weren't presenting, so that they could get travel money to go to the conference. She would ask around and directly contact us and our advisors to see whether we need help to get on the program. And I was one of those students. My presentation wasn't accepted to ARA several times. But Linda Tillman put me and Catherine Mansfield on the program as her assistants for the Division A Early Career Mentoring Workshop so we could get our names on the program and be able to get travel money. We were her assistants for a couple of years. We were grad students, not faculty, but because we were Linda Tillman's assistants, we got to actually participate in the Early Career Workshop, and it was there that I learned what tenure is. I also learned how to mentor, the right way to mentor, and how to navigate the writing and publishing process. And of course, get extensive feedback on my CV, because she was like, this is how you do your CV, from Dr. Tillman. Still to this day, Dr. Linda Tillman is now looking out for my students, to the point that I think I might need to put her down as my co-advisor on my CV, co-advisor of my students. She has attended several of my advisees' dissertation proposal defenses, invited them to serve on ARA presidential session panels, and even invited some of my students to be guest lecturers in her class. So clearly I still got a lot more work to do to make sure I hold my end of the bargain and the legacy of the namesake for this award. Finally, I want to thank my mother, Stephanie Welton. As a young, single Black mother, she made a lot of sacrifices for me to experience excellence. As I have shared with many of you, I admire my mother and her persistence as she continues to pursue her higher education, and there is no time limit to the pursuit of that dream. She now has her associate's degree in science and continues to take courses towards her four-year degree. The one thing Texas got going for it at least is that Texans over 65 can go to college for free. Just a day or two ago, my mom was texting me that she was up late completing a homework assignment. So this award is not going to sit in my office on campus. I'm dedicating it to my mom and giving it to her so she can put it in her crystal cabinet. You know that generation still got their crystal cabinet. Or on the fireplace mantle. So thank you, UCEA.
Congratulations. The last but not least is the Roald F. Campbell Lifetime Achievement Award, which recognizes senior professors in the field of educational administration whose professional lives have been characterized by extraordinary commitment, excellence, leadership, productivity, generosity, and service. At the same time, the award celebrates the remarkable pioneering life of Roald Campbell, whose distinguished career spanned many years and exemplified these characteristics. This award will be presented by Leslie Locke.
Hi, everybody. Hey. Thanks. So, like Mark, I too am a little afraid of Linda C. Tillman. Even though we collectively organized this nomination packet for Jim, Linda said I had to get up here and do this part. So here I am, Linda. So, as Carrie said, the Campbell Award recognizes senior scholars whose professional lives have been characterized by extraordinary commitment, excellence, leadership, productivity, generosity, and service. I can think of no better words to describe both Jim professionally and personally. While the nomination would only allow us to include a couple of letters of support, we received many, many more, and many of those letter writers are here today in this very room. Jim indeed has a large academic family, and I am honored and proud to be part of that family. I'll share a quote from one of his supporters that resonates with me personally as well. Jim is productive, but that's not what makes him extraordinary. Rather, it's about his unconditional care for his students and colleagues, his steadfast commitment to the cause, his mentorship, and his friendship. That is what distinguishes him and makes him special. So, congrats, Jim, on this well-deserved award.
First, I want to thank Linda Tillman and Leslie Locke. I'm a bit intimidated by Tillman, too. When she tells me to do something, I do it. I don't sit around thinking about it, I just do it. I want to thank Linda and Leslie for putting together all the materials and submitting them and running that whole process. Second, I want to thank the Campbell Award Committee for supporting me. Third, no one does anything alone. Thus, I did not earn this by myself. All of us are always drawing on an array of relationships and scholarship, and I would include in this all my colleagues and students at UT Austin, of which there are some here today, my graduates from Texas A&M University, and Indiana University, Indianapolis. My fellow doctoral grads from Ohio State University long ago, and my university friends and colleagues across this country and beyond. I am interdependent with all of them, so this is as much their award as it is mine. However, I do want to remind us of something, and several speakers up here have raised it: white supremacy. Very high percentages of our children of color are experiencing spirit death in the schools. Literally spirit death. They are taught they're not smart, they're not capable. And it's nationwide. So I would like to point out that except for a small percentage of exceptional schools, the huge majority of schools have race and ethnicity disparities or have virtually no students of color. These disparities, which range from discipline to grading and from special education to honors and gifted, continue to exist though here at UCEA, we are very social justice and decolonization focused and have been so for 15 years. My question then, given that our universities, UCEA universities, train a large percentage of school leaders, my question is why, regardless of our 15 years of UCEA focus, do race and ethnicity disparities continue to dominate schooling? Based on my 31 years as an educational leadership scholar, including participation in UCEA and AER Division A, we really need to think about this issue of why, after 15 years of social justice, the spirit death is happening at such large levels all across the country. What do we need to do? What is it our responsibility to do to change that? I would like for us to ask, what are the causes of this, and how do we need to reform our educational leadership programs to assist K-12 schools in becoming equitable and just? What do we need to do to serve the children? That's who we're here for. We're here for all the children. How do we need to change our current programs? I'm just urging us all to think about this, to not be satisfied where we're at, because where we're at is not good, and it's going to get worse. Thank you.
Thank you all for celebrating with us. I'm going to go back to what Michael said about Reels. Sometimes I save Reels on Instagram for my kids to watch because thankfully they don't have a phone yet and they're not on social media, but they love for me to show them to them. There was this Reel recently, actually last night, that they were cracking up about. It's a mom who was giving a script to her children who are getting ready to go back to school, and it was entitled, This is what we ain't gonna do. For instance, we ain't gonna change our stomach energy as we go back to school, right? And so I will say in the same spirit, this is what we ain't gonna do. We ain't gonna let folks steal our joy or our peace, and we ain't gonna stop doing the good work that we know needs to be done. And in fact, we need to do even better work, as Jay mentioned. So thank you for letting me co-host and celebrate the beautiful work that you all are doing and that we continue to do. And Michael has a few closing remarks.
Thank you. A little closing guidance here from UCEA. For all of our awardees and presenters, as soon as we're done, if you could please meet in the back, inside the room against that wall, because I want to get a group picture. And then our photographer asked as much as possible if the rest of us could leave through my right. So, you know, I don't know, stage whatever. So presenters and awardees on this side, and the rest of us could exit on this side. That'll let them take the group picture. That would be great. And UCEA, all of us would also like to invite everyone next to the General Session 1, our Mistfitter lecture, titled From Research to Practice, Using Afrofuturist Development Theory to Design for Justice and Joy in Schools, with keynote speaker Dr. Brandisha Tynes. Also, Carrie and I would like to invite you all to join us in thanking our presenters who themselves and our nominators were beautiful and inspiring in their words. Please, thank you. One more round of collective shout-filling joy for our awardees. And one more big, huge shout for all of you and of all of our UCEA colleagues, faculty, students, and staff. Please enjoy the convention and remember not to be demanding on yourselves. We're here to support one another. Thank you.